Aoji Coal Mine is known among South Koreans as the worst political prison camp in North Korea. It is also rumored to be a place where North Korean athletes who perform poorly are sent. According to testimonies from North Korean defectors who were athletes, losing to South Korea in a competition doesn't result in being sent to a political prison camp. Instead, they face short-term labor sentences, working in coal mines or on farms. Aoji Coal Mine, known for its high-quality coal, was exploited during the 1920s when Korea was a Japanese colony, serving Japan's war efforts. During the war, Japan, facing a shortage of coal, expedited mining operations at Aoji Coal Mine. It wasn't long before Aoji became Korea's largest coal mine. During the Japanese occupation, Aoji was so harsh that people would say it was better to die than to go there. After the end of the Japanese occupation, Aoji Coal Mine was transformed into a forced labor camp for political prisoners who opposed the North Korean regime. According to the memoirs of Maeng Dong-wook, a North Korean-born Russian meritorious artist, he felt deep skepticism towards North Korean communism and attempted to escape to South Korea. However, both of his attempts ended in failure. Eventually, he was sent to Aoji Coal Mine at the age of 17. At that time, Aoji Coal Mine was known as Death Aoji, a place where new arrivals came in, but no one ever left. The camp commander at Aoji Coal Mine, where he was sent, selected the most heinous criminals to serve as overseers. These brutal overseers were tasked with monitoring other political prisoners to prevent them from escaping. Although they were all criminals, these overseers were treated equally to the guards in return for tormenting and brutally killing other political prisoners, thereby instilling fear. Professor Maeng Dong-wook referred to them as human butchers. Anyone who even slightly displeased the overseers would be stripped naked, bound with ropes, have a filthy rag stuffed in their mouth, and then be burned all over their body with red-hot wire. According to Professor Maeng Dong-wook, the most terrifying aspect of Aoji Coal Mine was the brutal and merciless violence inflicted by the overseers. Political prisoners had to wake up at 7 a.m. in their filthy, dark cells, eat only a small portion of bean paste, and then work all day in the underground coal mines. Before entering the mine each day, they would have to kneel and be beaten. The overseers would ruthlessly beat anyone in the underground mines who spoke or made eye contact, using logs or thick wire. Such actions were deliberately encouraged by the leadership as a warning measure to demoralize prisoners in advance, to prevent any resistance or escape attempts from the mine. And this warning tactic was effective. Terrified individuals chose absolute obedience to survive and became accustomed to being beaten. Since the overseers did not enter the mines, even though the air was suffocating with the smell of gas and coal dust, the underground mines were considered relatively better. Changes in the horrific camp conditions began to occur around the time when the tide of the Korean War started to turn in favor of the South Korean forces. During the period when the Operation Chromite succeeded on September 15, 1950, and the South Korean force recaptured Seoul on September 28, 1950, the camp, where propaganda proclaiming Kim Il-sung as the imminent leader of a unified government had been blaring day and night, began to fall silent. When the loudspeakers that had been blaring throughout the camp all day fell silent, the political prisoners began to wonder if North Korea might be losing the war. Shortly after these suspicions arose, the prisoners were moved to a spacious but gloomy building within the camp. Even the overseers, who had been treated like guards, were confined in the same rooms. One day, dozens of armed guards, including the camp commander, appeared and began calling out the names of the political prisoners, taking them away. The other prisoners began to hope that perhaps North Korea had lost the war and that everyone held captive might be set free. But after the people were taken away, the sounds that followed were none other than gunshots. Soon after, the cells that had been crowded with people were left completely empty. 10 days later, the camp commander returned and ordered the political prisoners to enlist in the People's Army to serve their country and bravely fight against the enemy. Unaware of the outside situation, the political prisoners were simply bewildered. However, the war situation at the time was already shifting in favor of the South Korean forces. with North Korean troops desperately fleeing in search of their own escape routes. North Korea drove the political prisoners to the battlefield to use them as a last desperate measure. In this way, the political prisoners were brought out of Aoji Coal Mine, destined for a battlefield that was as good as a death sentence. It seemed that Aoji Coal Mine would fade into history, but the nightmare was far from over. After the Korean War, North Korea sent South Korean prisoners of war to Aoji Coal Mine. Although the United Nations Command estimated that about 80,000 South Korean prisoners of war were sent to Aoji Coal Mine, North Korea repatriated only 8,000 South Korean prisoners of war, citing their alleged defection as the reason. In reality, they were not defectors, but were sent to Aoji Coal Mine to be used as labor. The South Korean prisoners of war sent to Aoji had to endure harsh conditions. Those who were not sent to Aoji were subjected to other forced labor until death. One day, North Korea's founding leader, Kim Il-sung, visited Aoji Coal Mine, leading to the renaming of Aoji and the abolition of the political prison camp. The name of Aoji Coal Mine, as well as the name of the region, have both been changed. Alongside this, Aoji Coal Mine was designated as a cultural heritage site to preserve its history, leading to extensive restoration efforts. One might think that there would be changes in Aoji after these name changes, but that was not the case. The area continued to be home to North Korea's lowest social class, including South Korean prisoners of war. North Korea currently enforces a highly strict social class system. Depending on their social class, many aspects of a person's life, such as where they can live and what jobs they can have, are restricted. Additionally, South Korean prisoners of war are assigned the lowest social class, forcing them to live and work in places like Aoji Coal Mine, where people continue to die of starvation every day. And North Korea also used Aoji as a site to incinerate foreign waste for a fee. The place remains a hell on earth, with cries of suffering people still echoing and their torment ongoing. Even today, the people of North Korea continue to suffer under the dictatorship of the Kim family. We hope for the swift end of this oppressive regime. In our next video, we'll explore the world of North Korean hackers. We'll uncover how North Korea manages to generate the funds necessary for its nuclear weapons program, despite facing stringent international sanctions. Stay tuned to learn more about the covert operations that sustain this secretive regime. That's all for today. Thank you for watching.